if you're a highly sensitive person, living in the world can often feel like punishment. It can very easily feel like hell. It can be a very painful experience until you learn how to manage your sensitivity and use it to your advantage. See, the problem isn't that you're too sensitive. The problem is you haven't learned how to give yourself permission to use that sensitivity to your advantage. Most people that are highly sensitive have been this way since they were born. And if you can think about how overwhelming your emotions can be as an adult, sadness, depression, anger, embarrassment, all of these emotions, and how big they feel to you as an adult, and how overwhelming it can feel as an adult. And if you're a highly sensitive person, remember, not even if you're not a highly sensitive person, but remembering how big and overwhelming those emotions felt as a child. It can feel like a life or death situation if you don't figure out something to do with that. And this is why we develop so many fucked up ways of coping with our emotions when we're children, because it feels like if you allow that emotion to move through you, it will take you with it. You know what I'm saying? So we develop these coping mechanisms to help us survive as children, and then as we become adults, we go through, a lot of times people go through a midlife crisis, you might go through a quarter life crisis, you go through some sort of crisis in your adulthood where you have to come to grips with the fact that the version of you that is operating now as an adult that helped you stay safe as a child is no longer working, but you don't know how to break out of it. You don't know how to leave that version of yourself behind. So you either, and this is why highly sensitive people end up dealing with drugs and alcohol very heavily, because it's the easiest, quickest way to numb yourself and to numb everything that you feel, and you can have a little bit of fun while you're at it, so you get a 2-for-1, right? But it's not the real way to deal with your sensitivity. You have to learn how to develop boundaries. The biggest problem with highly sensitive people is that they usually have very poor boundaries. They usually have a very hard time speaking up for themselves. They usually have a very hard time of saying no when they actually mean no. Because these are all things that you learned how to use to survive. You suppress your voice because you weren't allowed to speak as a child. So the problem isn't the sensitivity. The problem is you feeling like you trust yourself to protect yourself. That's usually what it's rooted in. And so instead of acting on what you see, because see, when you're a highly sensitive person, you pick up on things years, decades, lifetimes ahead of other people, and you have to develop the ability to trust what you pick up and allow yourself to act on it. But you'll pick up on these things, and instead of giving yourself permission to act on it, you'll do what everybody else does, because you don't want to lose the benefit of company. You don't want to lose the benefit of relationships. But you get to a place where you realize that these relationships are built upon what people think you are and not what you actually are, and you haven't learned how to be what you actually are. So the problem is the boundaries. The problem is you trusting yourself to protect yourself. And also, and that leads back to your mindset of abundance, your beliefs about what you can create for your life. That's why all these things are connected. So you have to root out what the real problem is. The problem isn't that you feel too much. You see things ahead of everybody else, and it can make you feel crazy because nobody else joins up with you in whatever you see. And you have to come to understand that this is a solo journey. Everybody else that joins up with you is always going to be temporary. Even if you marry this person and y'all go to the grave together, someone's leaving first. Okay? Someone's leaving first. Even if y'all die together, when you die, your souls go your separate ways because y'all have different lessons to learn while you're here in the flesh. So this is an individual journey. And you have to stay on this journey to develop your own trust in yourself to carry you forth on it. It's not about maintaining superficial connections for a sense of company, because you need those particular things when you've abandoned yourself. When you come back home to yourself and you develop a relationship with yourself that is based in your truth, and you become what you think you need other people to be around you for, you are your biggest supporter. You stand up for yourself, you fight for yourself, you defend yourself, you protect yourself, you love yourself, you accept yourself on every level. When you give yourself all of those things, you can enjoy relationships with people that are aligned with that truth, okay? But a lot of times what we do is we try to use other people to fill in those holes, in those spaces that are left by us. And that's what this whole thing is about. So when you are a sensitive person, you can see things before most people see them. And this is a benefit. This is a huge superpower, because if you can pick up on something, and this is what our survival instincts are about. If you can pick up on, I feel like that's gonna go left, or I feel like that person is shady, I feel like I don't see that ending in a way that is healthy for me. And even on the flip side of that, I have a good feeling about this. I don't know why I need to call this particular business to set up this appointment for what I need to get done around my house, but something about this feels good. So I'm going to call them, even though I don't know anything about them until they show up and do the work. It works both ways. But when you see these things and you give yourself permission to follow through on it, you can cut out a lot of the time that gets wasted, that a lot of people waste. Instead of spending 10 years to learn your lesson, you can get it in 10 minutes or 10 months or 10 days. And these signals are always available to us, because that sensitivity is an antenna. You don't want to numb it. That's the whole purpose of being here. But I get it, because the world is so intense and there's so much happening all the time. And this is why it's important to be able to sit with yourself and practice creating serenity and peace with yourself, so that everything that's going on out here is irrelevant. You deal with it as it comes to your doorstep and you keep moving. But that sensitivity it's incredibly powerful to help you move quickly through life and make decisions quickly, because you trust yourself. And but yeah, that's just something that I wanted to share, because I've always been a highly sensitive person. And when I was a kid, I always felt like it was punishment, because I wanted to be like everybody else. Why I can't be tough? Why my skin can't be thick like everybody else? But it's not about having thick skin. Thick skin is a defense mechanism. You feel me? I like my thin skin, because I'm going to feel what the fuck you got going on real quick and nip it in the bud immediately, instead of second gaslighting myself, because that's what everybody else around me does, and saying, oh no, it's not really that, it's not really that, and move on quickly. And instead of it taking me 10 years or 20 years to see what I saw from the jump, because I didn't want to trust what my body and my intuition was telling me, I'm gonna trust myself now and save myself a whole lot of time and move on to the thing that I really want to do. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Yeah, hope you're having a good day. Peace.